What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Thank you, Al Heyman. Just want to say thank you. Just watched on a Friday night, Premier Boxing Champs. Got to see Caleb Plant. Never really got to see much of him. I seen my dude Dante's Boxing Nation had been talking him up and stuff, so I got to see him. He got a vicious body shot stoppage. I got to see Tank Davis. That was on the Facebook PBC channel. And then the main event, which is what I'm talking about, post-fight, the BOXINGEGO style. You guys know I give you the good, the bad, the ugly. Rances Barthelemy defended his title against the former champion with that same belt, which was BEY. So I want to give you guys the good, and the bad, and the ugly. Thought it was a good fight. It was a solid fight. It actually started off in the first 4 or 5 rounds like it was going to have a little bit more action, and then the action just kind of dissipated a little bit, but it was still solid. It's still a solid fight. Now, when I was in LA for the Charlo brother fight, I got to spend time and actually kick it with BEY and his brother Tez. So shout out to them, to the Bay brothers, TMT. And he was kind of telling me his thoughts going into the fight. The judges had it a split decision win for the champion, Rances Barthelemy. I think it probably could have been a unanimous decision based on the second half of the fight, because I think that's really where Rances Barthelemy pulled away. I don't think you could really score. It was a close fight, and I'm gonna break it down. It was a close fight, but how wide that one judge had it for BEY, even if you had him winning, I don't see how you could have had him winning by that margin based on the later rounds. So the good is the Rances, as far as Rances Barthelemy, he keeps his title, and I gotta say that Cuban style is tricky. It's a motherfucker, because what I noticed, not to stereotype because it's not all Cubans, but a lot of the top level Cuban fighters, one thing that I noticed is just their amateur program is second to none, and they are so relaxed and so calm by and large, where it's almost scary. You look at round one, Rances Barthelemy, he looks good in there. He has some pep in his step. He's bouncy. You can even see him through the fight. He's kind of doing some bolo punches, showboating. And the thing is, Rances Barthelemy, he's in between Yuriorkis Gamboa and Edeslandi Lara, like in terms of his style. Like he has some of the upper body movement of a guy like Gamboa, but not as devastating a puncher. And then he also has some of the pot shotting and the reaching, or not reaching, excuse me, like the long range type of pot shotting and mid to outer range game. That's what I noticed. So he's kind of like in between. He's his own style, but that's kind of what he falls into. He's not so much like Lara, because he's more of a volume guy than Lara, but he's not all the way Gamboa in terms of like a pure power puncher and very, very athletic. He's athletic, but it's just I find that's the best way for me to categorize him, in between a Gamboa and an Edeslandi Lara. He kind of has a little bit of both, kind of a hybrid, if you will. So what I like from Rances is he has a good volume, and he has a good level of slickness, upper body movement. And what I seen is he was really dictating the pace. He was pushing forward, and he knows how to do little things like veteran tricks. And he has under 30 fights as a pro, but that's where the amateur experience comes in. He knows how to steal rounds. He knows how to round. Like I think round 8 is a good example of it. Round 8, he was winning the round already, but then he'll put the icing on the cake. He'll put the cherry on the top by having a flurry and backing up BEY or something like that, or having him against the ropes and popping his head back a little bit. So he knows when to pile it on, and it's like a movie scene stealer. You know those movies where there's a cameo from a person who the movie's not really about them. Like let's say there's an old school movie called 3 Strikes, and Mike Epps is in it for like 5 minutes, but he was almost a scene stealer. People remember his particular scene, even though it was a very short portion of the movie and he wasn't a main character. I think that's kind of what Rances Barthelemy's his style is like. He's a scene stealer, and he knows how to capitalize and do those little veteran tricks to win rounds and steal rounds, and like it just by any means necessary. I think sometimes in the close quarters when they're immediately breaking, he'll just throw 3 or 4 punches, which is smart because it shows the activity, and that's how people judge it, and they see the willingness that he has to let his hands go and how comfortable he looks. He's showboating a little bit, and he wasn't being made to pay for all of his showboating by BEY. So little things like that, people see like, oh, he's toying with them. You know what I mean? People see like that, those types of things, and they judge that. And even midway through the fight, Floyd Mayweather Sr., great trainer, underrated trainer, Floyd Mayweather Sr., who trains Mickey Bey, he was like, "You losing this fight. You got to pick it up, man." And let's talk about the bad. The bad for me is I think Mickey Bey could have made more of a statement. I think he abandoned his body shots. He was doing good to the body early. I actually got to watch him spar in preparation for this particular fight, and he was a phenomenal body puncher that day when I seen him in sparring. So I think he shouldn't have abandoned it in the second half of the fight. And the thing I noticed is you can tell he's trained by Floyd Sr. because he has that tight shell, and it's not the worst shell that I've seen. Like obviously, like guys like Berto, when they try to pull off the shell, it just wasn't happening for him. But the thing is, Mayweather is an anomaly. When Floyd Mayweather Jr. does the shell, it's like his reaction time or his reflexes or whatever. He's just a piston. Like he's in the shell and then pow, like, and then he hits you with something sharp and something fast. Like, and I think what Mickey Bey was doing that was causing Rances to win rounds is Rances was continually pushing the pace forward, and Mickey Bey was kind of waiting too much. And he was like, he would land some shit and then he would pose. You never really see Floyd Mayweather do that. Floyd doesn't just pose and sit around like a sitting duck and kind of wait for his shots to have its effect. You know what I mean? It's like a comedian, a good comedian. They're going to tell you jokes, and while you still haven't recovered from laughing from the first joke, and then they're already hitting you up with a secondary joke. You know what I'm saying? But if Mickey Bey was that comedian, he would tell a joke, and it's like he's waiting for the studio audience to applaud. And I think that's what kind of lost him the fight in the second half. He was waiting a little bit too much, and it got to a point where he was down. You got to look at it like this. You're in Miami. Miami has a high Cuban population, so you could tell by the boos and the cheers and stuff that the crowd was pro-Cuban, pro-Rances Barthelemy based on the location. They're in the 305. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a Pitbull concert. You're going to expect the Dominican and the Cubans and the Ricans and everybody come out. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you're up against. Also, you're trying to dethrone a champion, a guy who now has your old belt. So I think he just had to do a little bit more to push the pace, and then he kind of slept on that and didn't put his foot on the gas to make that statement, to make it. Again, it was a close fight, but I think he should have done more, and then he could have had a real argument for the split decision. I thought the split decision was a bit wide, and it just got to a point where he should have tried to muscle Rances Barthelemy around, because you look at how it's a tricky style, but you look at how it scored. One guy's more active, he's taller, he's throwing punches in bunches. He's getting you against the ropes, or you're not really getting him against the ropes. Then he's showboating and shuffling his feet and using the upper body movement, putting his hands down low and sticking his head out. You look at all that stuff, and that's kind of how people score it. They're like, okay, he's getting the better of it. He's doing what he wants. So I think Mickey Bey, ultimately, he was just waiting a little bit too long to try to pull the trigger. It wasn't a horrible showing. It wasn't like it was a complete mismatch where you just seen two different skill levels and one guy just had no business being in the ring. It wasn't nothing like that. It was a competitive fight. One of the knockdown, or the only knockdown in the fight, I think was in the second round. At first it looked like it was legit, but by watching the replay, it should have not have been ruled a knockdown. It should have been ruled a slip, because there was a collision of heads. And I think that's maybe what made the scores a little bit closer, but you really can't even use that because the scores that they had for Bey were a little bit too wide. I understand it's a TMT event, but too wide. And I think if Mickey Bey were to watch the tape, then he would just kind of see some of the things he could have done. I think he could have made more of a statement. The thing that I noticed about a lot of Cuban fighters, I just watched a Cuban fighter last week at Islandi Lara. I was at the Vadas Matarosen rematch. One thing that I noticed is they do a hell of a job controlling the fucking pace, like just dictating the pace. It's like they're moving you where you want to be, and you're like having to chase them, or you're having to be at their mercy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is. It's just the timing, the rhythm of them, and that's the thing. You do not want to get one of these elite level Cuban fighters, get them into a rhythm, because then that's when they really start feeling themselves. They start feeling themselves like, okay, he can't hit me. And it's hard to get that timing down. So valiant effort by Mickey Bey to try to get his belt back, but I think you got to do a little bit more to dethrone the champion, especially in a hostile crowd and territory where you're not the favorite, things like that. So Let me know what you guys thought of the fight. I thought it was a solid fight, definitely for a Friday night PBC. And let me know what you guys thought. What could have Mickey Bey have done? Did you have anybody have Mickey Bey winning the fight? What's next for Rances Barthelemy? For me, the good for Rances Barthelemy, he remains undefeated, keeps his belt, and that's the best name on his resume as of right now, Mickey Bey. And that's a certified name, because the only reason Mickey Bey didn't have the belt is because he vacated per his own choice. You know what I'm saying? So, best name on his resume. And I would have loved to see Broner and Rances if Broner wasn't moving up to welterweight, but there's still some options at 140 for him. Even a guy like, I just want to see all the styles. Like that's how I judge fighters, when I see him defeat all types of styles. Even a fight with like a guy like Ruslan Provodnikov, who's on Showtime now. If he gets past John Molina Jr. based on the style matchup, I would like to see it. A vicious power puncher who you may or may not be able to hurt, because it doesn't look like Mickey Bey was ever hurt in this fight by Rances Barthelemy. And a guy that's going to keep coming and smother you. You know what I mean? It could be like an Edeslandi Lara versus Angulo fight, where you have a guy with no defense but power, and he's willing to take 5,000 punches to the face in order to land his one punch. You know what I'm saying? So if Ruslan or John Molina, whoever it is, gets past each other, the winner of that fight, even a fight like that could be good, especially since they're both on the Heyman side or network as of right now. That'd be a solid title defense. You know what I mean? And then eventually maybe work up to a Crawford Postal winner. Just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.